Hello, good day, and welcome to eri-tv News. I am Victoria, broadcasting from Canada, and these are the headlines for today's stories. Eritrean refugees in Ethiopia forced to move to escape attacks, hunger. Ambush in reprisals in western Ethiopia killed 64. Tigray war has sent up to half a million dead from violence and starvation, say researchers. Sudanese women are at the forefront of demonstrations. Bringing you this in detail after a short break. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome back from that short break. Now, news in detail. Eritrean refugees in Ethiopia forced to move to escape attacks, hunger. Nairobi aid groups say Eritrean refugees in Ethiopia are facing increased attacks and growing hunger as humanitarian access to the displaced persons camps remain limited. The aid groups are calling on Ethiopian authorities to protect refugees and allow much needed assistance into besieged areas of the country. Eritrean refugees living in Ethiopia continue to face hunger and attacks as fighting in the country's northern areas continues, according to refugees who spoke to the UN Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. Which are unidentified men attacked the Baha camp last month, killing 5 people. Faith Kasina is the UN Refugee Agency spokesperson for Eastern Africa, the Horn of Africa, and the Great Lakes region. The conflict has also reached some of those refugee camps in those 3 regions where we have seen refugees being displaced, forced to flee yet again, said Kasina. Others have been wounded and some have also been killed. The situation continues to be extremely worrying for refugees, particularly because a lot of them have to deal with the reality of being forced to flee. Ethiopian hosts at least 140,000 Eritreans who fled persecution and other abuses in their country. Most of the refugees are sheltered in the Tigray region since of the heaviest fighting between Ethiopia's government forces and the Tigray Liberation People's Front rebel group. Others have moved south to the Afar and Amhara regions where the TPLF is battling pro-government militants. Humanitarian agencies have had difficulty assessing the populations in need because of the roadblocks and insecurity. The UN Humanitarian Office says it was recently able to distribute 100 metric tons of healthcare and nutrition supplies to Tigray. The aid helped about 10,000 people and at least 22,000 refugees. Other 190,000 receive assistance in Alpha and Amhara. Kasina of the UN Refugee Agency says more people are left without shelter. With the deterioration of the security situation and the ongoing conflict, many people, including refugees, are likely to be further displaced to flee their homes or where they are living in settlement in urban areas to other areas that are relatively safer in search of assistance. A number of Eritreans are leaving to other countries, especially through Kenya border to Uganda, said Tech. Most of them, while en route, they are arrested by police officials at the border or after crossing the border, and many of the time they are taken to court and fined, especially in Kenya, through some of them were able to make it to Uganda. The UN Humanitarian Agency says its operation in the north of the country continues to be restricted at a time when about 70,000 people need to assistance each week. Moving on to the other story, ambush and reprisals in western Ethiopia killed 64. At least 53 people have died in western Ethiopia after an unidentified armed group attacked a civilian convoy and its military escort in a region plagued by ethnic violence. The Ethiopian Human Rights Commission said on Sunday that a previously unreported attack occurred on March 2nd in Mekelle. In the Banhana Gomas region, 20 soldiers and 3 civilians were killed in the ambush, while 30 attackers died during the day-long gun battle that followed. 11 more people were killed the following day, including one who was burned alive. Security forces ran up suspects and carried out similar killings, according to the right group. The commission investigated the incident after a video posted on social media on Friday showed armed some in military uniforms using a stick to pull a man back into a burning pile of bodies after he tried to escape. The government said on Saturday it would act against the perpetrators. According to the commission, the government soldiers stopped but pulled out 8 ethnic Tigrayan civilians who had just been released from prison and accused them of obstructing the attack. Security officers arrested and beat the men. They shot them along with 2 men from the local government's ethnic group. They burned their bodies. The commission said security officers told the commission that they found cars and satellite phones with Tigrayan suspects. Security forces divorced another Tigrayan man hiding in car, tied him up and threw him into the pile. The commission said not in presence of Ethiopian soldiers and uniformed forces from the Amhara region and southern nationalist and people region. The right body did not say which security forces killed the civilian. The violent in Banishego Gomez, home to several ethnic groups, is separate from the war in Tigray, a northern region that has been fighting central government rule for more than 16 months. The United Nations has said at least 15,000 Tigrayan civilians were arrested or imprisoned under a state of emergency declared in November and lifted last month. Moving on, Tigray war has seen up to 500,000 dead from violent and starvation, say researchers. As many as 500,000 people have died from war and famine in the Tigray region of northern Ethiopia over the past 16 months, researchers say. The estimate by experts who have closely monitored the Tigray conflict since its beginning is a real attempt to calculate the related death toll in a region that has been largely cut off from the outside world. The estimate includes 50,000 to 100,000 victims of direct killings, 150,000 to 200,000 starvation deaths, and more than 100,000 additional deaths caused by lack of health care, according to researchers led by Jan Knox of Ghent University in Belgium. The war began when Ethiopia sent its military into Tigray in an attempt to subdue the rebellious regional government in November 2020. The neighboring country of Eritrea also sent troops into Tigray, and the war has led to masquerades of civilians, destruction of hospitals and clinics, an exodus of refugees, and emergencies of famine. Ethiopia has blockaded most food aid to the region for months. Despite the huge death toll, there are growing fears that Russian invasion of Ukraine will overshadow the Tigray war and add the long-running conflict in Africa and the Middle East, reducing global attention and humanitarian aid for those crises. Moving on to the last story, Sudanese women are at the forefront of demonstrations. Thousands of male and female demonstrators were back in the streets of Khartoum on Tuesday. The rally came as women across the world celebrate International Women's Day. Demonstrators were back in the streets of Khartoum. Thousands relied as women across the world celebrate International Women's Day. Alongside male peers, female protesters faced tear gas fired by the security forces. Demonstrators like Amina al-Bashir wouldn't have missed the rally for the world. Sudanese women have been at the forefront of demonstrations since the start of a series of protests against the removal of the last civilian-led transitional government. They marched demanding the return of constitutional. Activist Tang Abbas explained why she marched and protesting to deliver the messages. Pictures of Al Salah, an architecture student who turned into an icon of the Sudanese revolution, even became viral at the time. If anti-corp protested called for the return of a civilian government, the ruling military said they would only have power to an elected government. This is why in the news on Alena Media TV. I am Victoria, and thanks for watching.